Hello, welcome to another video, and today I'm going to be talking about the lore for my universe. It's pretty cool. But before we get started, let's talk about the art and how this all came to be. So while I do this little introduction, the person that I'm drawing right now, this is Chaos. And we'll get a little bit more into her as we get into the characters. But let's get back into it. A few weeks ago, I was thinking about my world building and how I find it very tedious sometimes. I like sticking to the same world or connecting all of my worlds together into the same universe. So I decided to make one main universe and have interconnected worlds and a main magic system that all the other ones are based off of. I got this idea from another artist. You can go ahead and watch that video to show how all that came to be, and I started to create this world. I already had some idea of what I wanted. I had this idea of some extremely powerful creatures that are practically made of magic, so I started with that idea. So let's get into the lore. Once upon a time, there was no time, and reality could be whatever you wanted. There was only one race of beings called Aperons, and yeah, these beings were completely made of magic, and they lived in what is called eternity, and they could make eternity into whatever they wanted. There was no set reality. Eventually, two of these Aperons wanted more out of it. They wanted something more solid. This is the type of the world where nothing happens. You live there, you can have whatever you want, but nothing ever actually happens. There are no events, there is no time, there is no reality. It just is kind of there. It's kind of hard to explain. I have an image in my head of what I want it to look like and what I wanted it to feel like. But let's just say, think of it as your comfort zone, and they wanted to go out and do things and explore and have some sort of adventure in their life, some sort of excitement. When these two express their desire, they're shunned and kicked out of what is now known as nothingness. After a while, it could have been 2 days, or it could have been millions of years. After all, time doesn't exist at all. A home is created, and then a world beyond that home. This is known as the first world. As they work, bits of reality begin to take shape: time, space, and feeling. As reality begins to form, our two characters slowly turn a little bit more human, for lack of a better term. And they learn and they grow, and they slowly fall in love. These two characters are Chaos and Order. Eventually, the gods are born. There are 7 gods in total, Chaos and Order, and their 5 children. So I'm going to go over a little bit of an overview of each character. We got Mira, the goddess of water; Rowan, the god of the earth; Ember, the goddess of fire; Issei, the god of life; and Arrow, the god of the wind. We'll get into each one individually as I draw those pieces of art, but let's finish the overview of the story. As the children grow up, they take a likening to certain types of creations. These preferences determine what they're good at, and therefore what they are the gods of. As they grow, they begin to travel around, creating their own worlds, creatures, and all forms of life as they go. Eventually, their parents become worried that eternity will find them, so they create a barrier and tell their children that it's not safe to go beyond. This seems very limiting, especially since Chaos and Order came from a very limiting environment, so part of me thinks that maybe this species develops and matures exponentially slower than humans, and the elemental gods are actually very young compared to their parents and still in sort of this childlike state, and so they do still need to be protected. Anyways, that's my Pantheon of Gods and how they came to be, so let's go into depth a little bit more with each character. Let's start with Chaos and Order. I wanted to start with their relationship. I would think that they're very much in love and very sappy. There are things that they disagree on. They are complete opposites. Chaos wants to give them their kids a lot of freedom. Order wants to keep them as safe as possible. This kind of difference is what stems all of them, but they bring relationship to balance. Oh my gosh, I don't know why I said relationship. It says balance here on the script. Order they have things that they like about each other. Order likes how free Chaos's attitude is, and he wishes he could be much more easygoing than he is. And Chaos loves Order's focus and morality. She loves watching him work towards a goal because of how clean and efficient he is. they left together with the desire to create something, and neither of them have known names. So like they're just known as Chaos and Order, but that's not their actual names. Chaos, let's get into Chaos a little bit because we are drawing her at the moment. Chaos is a little gremlin and is the fun parent. She's closest to Issei because they both specialize in more magical disciplines. She loves hearing about the drama and watches different worlds like TV shows. She doesn't go into the worlds very often. She sees all of these individuals as entertainment. Chaos often refers to her children's creations as their toys. I think that's really funny. I was laughing as I wrote that part. One of the main things she's the goddess of is agency. I thought that was something that, because like agency brings a little bit of chaos to our lives because we have the ability to do anything and it's a lot harder to predict. So I thought that was a cool thing to make her the goddess of. But yeah, that's Chaos, and then we'll get into Order. Before we do that, I just want to say real quick, I did record a bunch of footage, kind of like how Chaos is drawn for the other characters, but that was so much footage that I decided to use the Procreate automatic recording system. So that's what we got for Order right now. But yeah, let's get on to the video. I have this note here that says I keep getting a little distracted while writing the script, and every time I come back I start typing Order's a little bitch, and now I feel like that's part of his character. But Order is kind of what you would expect. He likes things his way, but he's working on it for Chaos. He will always be working on it until reality doesn't exist anymore because it goes directly against his nature. He's the god of morality and is a strict moral code that is trickled down to the worlds. He can't help but interfere in different worlds to help set balance and create order. However, because of the presence of agency, that order doesn't last very long. The only thing that keeps him sane is the fact that it's usually Chaos's indirect influence, and he loves that for him. But for his character design, I wanted to go for a very straight-edged feel, so I gave him this very straight-lined, lots of straight lines, a crown, of course, and I wanted to have the accent of black along with mainly white, so I kind of went for that as well. Anyways, that's Order for you. I hope you like his design. For the rest of the characters, I'm going to be going from oldest to youngest, so that makes Mira first. Mira is the goddess of water, prophecy, healing, wisdom, and she is one of the two goddesses of war. She generally appears as some sort of water person or a mermaid of sorts. Depending on her mood, she'll appear as a mermaid or a siren. Her gifted generally receive the ability to manipulate water to some extent and heightened intelligence. Gifted generally means the gods have gifted you some sort of magic based on their power. They will give you some sort of power based on that. So her gifted will have the power to manipulate water. Mira is the eldest and knows the most about why the barrier exists and what happened before. She's very close to her mother as they both like to go where they please. She doesn't appreciate how her mother refers to her creations like fish and sharks as toys, but she'll put up with it. She's also the goddess of prophecy, healing, which are rare powers to be gifted. She generally just gives out prophecies if she thinks it's a good move to make. She likes having the control because she knows the dangers associated with being able to see the future. Mira has a habit of drifting into daydreams, and sometimes she can't tell the difference between the present and the future. She has the most strained relationship with Ember. She finds Ember way too intense most of the time. Her favorite sibling is Rowan, and they're both pretty calm individuals. She sees the other two little brothers and sister as children who need to be guided and protected. Arrow specifically has a very natural talent for worrying her, and she's always wondering what he's doing and if she's gonna have to clean up one of his messes. I drew her generally as this mermaid person. I did make a few changes to her design after I recorded this, after I drew this. She has these layers of fins on her face now instead of just the fin ears, but I still really like her design. This honestly isn't my favorite out of the drawings, but my favorite out of the drawings is the end, and we'll get into exactly why. I really like her. She's the best. I love her light and dark contrast of the hair and the skin. And I like the pop of coral that I gave to like her eyes and her accent color. I tried to go for a purpley blue kind of color scheme for her. And I gave her this like fishing spear that I found somewhere that I really liked. I think that's probably the weakest part of the drawing. I really like doing the background as well, though that's probably my favorite part. Anyways, the next one is Rowan. And Rowan is the god of the earth, nature, and also a little bit of control. He's one of the gods of peace and foundations. This makes his relationship with Arrow pretty strained because they're opposites, and Arrow likes to bother him. Rowan has green-gray skin that resembles a material between wood and stone. He doesn't mess with innovation too much, and he likes spreading different types of nature and plants throughout the world. He prefers that sort of nature feel rather than like technology or something like that. His favorite pastime is to create new types of plants, and he likes the quiet, often staying next to streams where Mira can come hang out with him if she wants. Rowan and Ember have their spats when Ember decides to burn down too much of his domain, but they generally smooth things over when things start growing back. I thought of this type of relationship when you think of forest fires. I heard somewhere that like forest fires clear out more space for new trees and plants to grow, and I figured that could be kind of like a metaphor for their relationship. Issei is closest with him out of the younger siblings. Issei taught him how to create plants and gave him a staff that has added magic to him to help create different types of plants, and they work together to build some type of nature thingy. Anyways, that's Rowan. This one, he was my hardest to design. I don't know, in the video where I designed him, most of that was done off camera, and I had like 5 different designs, and I was happy with approximately none of them. This one's probably my favorite. Obviously, I gave him these rounded deer horns that are fairly simple. I don't even know if they're deer horns, because I feel like deer horns have more like spindliness to them, but I think it looks cool. There are a few things that stayed the same, like the straight long hair and like the floppy ears, and the staff stayed the same. But I was experimenting with lots of different types of coloring and lots of different types of designs. He originally had these like stone fragments coming out to like as part of the cloak, and I ended up scrapping that. It's a cool concept, but I decided against it for this character design. Maybe he has a different cloak that he uses that has that, maybe. I don't know. But yeah, that's Rowan. The next one is Issei, but I've drawn him a lot before, and I didn't change his design at all. So I'll just post a picture of what he looks like for my sketchbook. But he's changed a lot. Issei started out as like a hero, and then his lover was poisoned, and then he searched out magic that could cure her, and this ended up with a deal with his enemy that gave him the power to give life and to heal, and in return he wouldn't fight his enemy before, and this power also gave him eternal life. However, he returned too late and she died. Maybe I'll reuse that backstory with a different character, but it doesn't work anymore, does it? I'm keeping his design and personality, though. I really liked his design. Issei keeps to himself. He's the god of life and death, along with magic. He created the afterlife based on his father's morals, creating both paradise and hell. He sees every good and bad thing an individual has done. Seeing him basically means you're dead. He's associated with the color green, and that color is now associated with death in most worlds due to that. His main role is with death, but he's just as much a god of life as he is of death. He can grant you new life if he thinks you deserve it, along with creating new life. He develops most magic systems in the world and creates the boundaries depending on what he's seen and what he thinks will work best and what will help people the most. He can't create limits on one of his siblings' powers, but he can limit mortal power. He creates and defines how spells work and gives power to a magic word or motion to create a spell. Individuals will sometimes come to him if they want to create a spell, but he rarely actually creates it. He's very distant to most of his family as well as creation, and is known as the most scary and mysterious of the gods. In most places, people don't even know his name. He's detached from most of reality and sees it similarly to chaos, except for he doesn't really pay attention. He doesn't see it as entertainment. Anyways, I kind of overlaid it with Ember, but yeah, that's Issei for ya. But let's get into Ember, the actual star of this drawing. Ember is the goddess of fire, passion, rebirth, and the second goddess of war. And that just about embodies her. Her domain covers impulsive war, or war based on emotion, along with the emotion itself. She's impulsive, quick to anger, and gets involved with mortal creations very, very quickly. She is generally the most involved with the worlds and creational affairs. Oftentimes, she's seen as too intense. Her and Arrow often go back and forth with messing with each other, which often creates a bunch of different things, chain reactions that happen in different worlds. The more I go into each god, I feel like I have less to say because I've already gone over Ember's relationship with most of her siblings, and it would be like repeating most things that I've said. But to recap, she sometimes has spats with Rowan, and she just does not get along with Mira, which is ironic because they're both goddesses of war. So yeah, that's her. For this art, I was trying to go for like her hair is made of fire, but halfway through I tried to change it to black, and then I went back and forth on it. So we'll see that in a few minutes. She was my favorite one to draw, honestly, just because I was also improving on how her design looked and operated, and like how her clothing worked. And I also wanted to make her hair made of fire. That too. That's the main reason. But yeah, she's my favorite, and here I am changing it to black to see if it would look better. And I don't know, one of the people that I asked for help from said that it was way too dark, which makes sense because she's like the goddess of fire, so she needed the fire in there. So I did change it back eventually. Anyways, that's Ember, and honestly, she's one of my favorite characters, and she's going to be the most fun to work with as I create my worlds, because I love working with fire powers. I think it's really fun. So yeah. Anyways, the next one is Arrow, and Arrow is the youngest and the baby. Before I just get into this one is my favorite art. I love the concept, and I think I did okay in translating it, and his design is really good. Him and Ember are my two favorites, and I think Arrow is one of my favorites just because of the wings. I really liked the idea of having him as a fairy, and so I just like the concept. I wanted to make him a fairy. Anyways, in every pantheon, there needs to be a trickster god. You got Loki, Hermes, Mercury, Set. I have Arrow. Arrow is the god of wind, sky, knowledge, and freedom, and he is the second god of peace. He likes messing with people and is always bothering someone. He usually does it for the entertainment. His favorite thing to do is to learn a secret he can hang over someone's head. He generally takes the form of a fairy or a bird, and much like Ember, he's very involved with mortal affairs a lot, but less because he's emotionally involved and more because he just wants to have fun. And that's Arrow. I really like him a lot. I gave him a very sky-themed design, mainly based off of blue and gold. I tried to make his wings gold, as you'll see at the end, but I was getting really tired and I was running out of time, which is part of the reason why I didn't draw Issei, because I realized right before recording this I didn't have any footage of him. So when I was drawing Arrow's wings, I wanted to make them this transparent gold, but it just like was not working, and I was just like, you know what, I'm just going to make it solid gold, and the next time I draw it, I'll make it transparent, which is really sad, because I kind of wish now I'd done it, but I still think the gold looks pretty good. I think it gives, now looking at it, it kind of overwhelms it, but you know what, we just won't talk about it. I also did a background for his drawing, which I didn't do for most of them. I think I only did it for Mira and this one, but you know what, that's okay. Anyways, that's my Pantheon. I just wanted to say this is one of the longest scripts I've ever written, almost 2,000 words. And that's the lore for my world. Each individual world will probably have its own history, its own main god, and lore for that individual world. But this is the universe lore, and I think that's like a good foundation to start on. Anyways, I hope you guys liked my lore dump, and you guys have a good day.